150th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last couple days of August 2013. This episode is titled MVP Summit. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by The Permissioner by Arkus. Mass assign and revoke Salesforce permission sets. It truly is permission sets made easy. Available for free on the App Exchange or go to thepermissioner.com. I'm your host, Jason Abbott, and joining me for the co-host, 150th time, with a little change up to the front entry, is Justin Nelson. Justin, how you doing today?
You put on your broadcaster hat, and you were like voice inflectioning.
Yeah, I'm the best.
And reading while not sounding like you were reading. That was very impressive.
I am really, really good. It's almost like I've done like 400 podcasts.
Almost. This is 150, though.
This is 150.
So close to 400, or not even half.
Well, if this were the only one podcast. So, here we are.
Hey, shush now.
Okay.
No Easter eggs on this podcast.
No Easter eggs. No green Easter eggs. Alrighty. So, a little change up. First of all, we're in a hotel.
We certainly are.
Room.
Together.
Broadcasting. Or,
right.
I guess, recording a podcast that we broadcast. So, we are in San Francisco.
Beautiful Omni Hotel.
At the beautiful Omni, yes. A shout out to Omni Hotel. We love it. Give us free rooms or something. Give us free nights.
Come on now. Don't just shine my shoes.
So this is, we are here because we have just attended the MVP Summit. So we have an agenda that includes the MVP Summit, which we'll talk about in a second. We'll also talk about the blog post of the week. And my iPad will make noises. And then we'll talk about the MVP Summit. We'll talk a little bit about Dreamforce, including a special session that I'm sure almost everybody listening to this podcast might actually kind of want to hear about. And then we'll kind of wrap it up and talk about next week and make our CloudFocus app picks of the week.
Right.
So let's start it off with the blog post of some week.
Yeah. One of these weeks there's a blog post written.
It's really been 3 weeks since we've had since we've podcast.
Yeah.
Because we did
a pre-recorded one.
Right.
The TV one. I want some feedback on that, what people think.
So you got a lot of feedback from my wife.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
She texted you like 90 times.
100 times in a row. Like, I can't believe this was number 7. No. Yes, it was number 7. Relax.
That was the best.
I can't believe this isn't on your top 10. It's
not on my top 10.
That's it.
That was very
Relax.
funny. So if you haven't listened to that, that was 149 Streaming TV Showdown, where we actually did a 10 to 1 top 10 TV shows of all time. Our faves. Kind of battled it out.
That you can stream.
Yeah, you can stream.
Right.
Again,
not just like top
kind of
10.
Well, kind of no, because
I guess
again,
they all are.
Yeah, because
very recent.
We basically said almost everything is streamable now because you can buy almost everything on Apple or Hulu or whatever. So anyway, but let's get to the blog post this week, which is called Salesforce Foundation Power of Us Hub.
Yeah.
So it's about
the Pub Hub.
The Pub Hub. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Power of Us Hub?
Sure. So the Power of Us Hub is so for all of those who are familiar with the success community that has recently rolled out, where ideas and answers and chatter and known issues have all been rolled into this nice community, the Power of Us Hub is the same idea, but for strictly not-for-profits. So if you're a foundation customer, you can get into the Power of Us Hub just by going to the website, the Power of Us website. It's powerofus.salesforcefoundation.org. And then you can log in using your regular Salesforce login and do virtually the same things. There's questions and answers, so you can ask questions. There's partners in there, so partners that are foundation partners, like ourselves, we're in there answering questions. There's
so be careful
chatter.
What you say about us.
Be very careful. There's chatter, so different groups, different user groups across the country in there. So it's a great way to think about, like, if you're specifically a not-for-profit and you don't really get or don't really find the regular success community like geared towards you enough, because it's all about like, talk to me about, account hierarchy or opportunities or this, that, or the other, Marketing Cloud, and this is really geared towards you who are using, tell me the best mass email tool to reach my constituency, or how should I handle in-kind donations, or how do others do that? Who's the best online donation vendor? That's the kind of questions and conversations that are happening within this success community.
So I have a question.
You were going to ask.
Yes, I was going to ask a question. So why break it out? So as you just sit there and discuss this, and as you tell
you're
us,
asking the wrong person. Because I don't really feel like it should necessarily be broken out. I feel like it should just be groups inside of you're sort of breaking the customer base apart. So I'm, without being too harsh, I feel like this should be just in the success community. Because, when you go to the keynote, there's not the big Salesforce keynote with nonprofit keynote off to the side. Right?
Not yet.
Well,
Safe
Mark
harbor.
Benioff still does like to say, for all those NGOs and nonprofit organizations out there, stand up so we can give you a hand, right? That day is not going to go away because he likes that moment.
Right.
I feel like it's very niche, it's very specific without all of the noise of the rest of the community going on around it, but I still feel like that could have probably been accomplished within the success community. Might have been a scope thing, like, hey, we need to get the success community out there, and the Power of Us Hub was like, we need these specific things, not sure what they are, but we can't get them in, so, hey, it's there for as a resource for those of you who are nonprofit partners or customers who are listening. You can go log in at the Power of Us Hub.
So can I, if I'm a non-profit, can I log into the Power of Us Hub?
No, you can't.
So how is that controlled? By
Because
your org type?
Yeah, they know who you are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're partners, and when I first tried to log in, it actually didn't let me in, so I had to contact the foundation and say, hey, you've kind of left me off the list. And they said, oh, yep, you're right. Who else from your organization, from Arkus, should be allowed to log into the Power of Us Hub?
Yeah, I love the idea, and I get it kind of from a sense of, I get it from being, wanting to have two places that are, there's 100,000 people or something, and where is it? No, what's in the success? It's like
it's like 800,000.
800,000. So I can
probably closer to 9 at this point.
I can get how this could be then very specific. You could do branding towards them. So I both get it from that point. It clearly, to me, it actually is a limitation of communities, right? This is a Salesforce community, right? Another one, and so it just shows that what hopefully on the roadmap, safe harbor, that maybe they could do some splitting out of communities and say these guys are in this community. When they come in, they see this type of thing.
But that is what it is.
I know, but it's not. But it's separate. It's separate. It's separate profiles. I'm not the same profile as I am in the other one. They're not actually the same org. Let's say it's not the same community.
They're the same back-end org.
Oh no! Because then when I log in with my profile, it's a totally different profile. I can put different things on it.
Yeah, but you're not getting it. You're single signing into a different community.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a different community as opposed to the same community that then could split off.
On the back end, it's the same Salesforce mothership org.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Then why is my profile different?
Because you're logging into a different community from a different login page.
Yeah, that doesn't I want one.
That's how they work.
Right.
There are multiple communities in one org. You're logging into one of them,
but so
not the other.
Another profile for a user. I don't want to have two profiles.
Why do you care? You're not a different. You're using the same username and password.
No, that's fine.
You're deciding where you're logging in.
Right. But then if I'm using the same username and password, why am I not carrying across my profile? Because it's a different community, but my same username and password. Don't tell me that's not confusing. I'm logging into Facebook with the same username and passward, but you're using a different profile.
Our use case is on the edge because in reality you're either one or the other, and you're gonna decide to use one or the other. I mean, I feel like the nonprofit people are gonna be going in here, and folks who are not non-for-profit are going to be going in there, but they can still go into the other.
That's the problem, because now ideas and answers, or the true answers, the big answers, the one that Steve is answering every single one of them, that's in the other one. So if I want to vote an idea, I'm going over there. I don't know. That again, I'm sure it was a timing and had to be done. I know they were. Yeah, I think they were done by different teams, weren't they?
Yeah, I totally feel like it was a timing thing.
Well, okay. So speaking of a timing thing, we're not at the right time. We're like,
Yeah,
we are all messed
we're
up.
off.
We are off.
This is California time. I'm way off.
So let's talk a little bit about, as you unplug my computer.
Yeah.
And
What do you
please,
need?
please
what
don't,
do you need power for?
please don't unplug my mic as we talk. Let's talk a little bit about the MVP Summit that we just attended for 2 days. I want to start off by talking a little bit about the MC program and the MVP program. The reason I'm going to do that is primarily because I can't really talk about a lot about what we saw and heard about.
That's how cool it was.
Yeah, but so let's talk about the MVP program. So we've talked about this before, and I don't want to talk, us being in it. It's sort of not a big deal, but sort of
It is a big deal.
Well, to you maybe, but what this is.
Well, to you too.
Yeah, I like it, but I'm saying I want to talk about it what it is from a big picture. Because for everybody who's not an MVP, what is it? If you would explain it to someone, because we talk about this like once a year. If you would explain to someone who has no idea, they know Salesforce and they're a user or an admin. What's the MVP program? Tell me about it.
Why do you do this to me? You ask me to do things, and then you're going to say, well, no, actually.
Exactly.
It's this.
That's right.
Fine. So the MVP community is...
Here's some rope.
Yeah.
Go hang yourself.
Exactly. It's a tight-knit community of Salesforce evangelists that evangelize the product on multiple social channels. So whether they're podcasters, bloggers, heavy Twitter users, heavy answers users, like people who submit tons of ideas or vote on a lot of ideas or help prune the ideas community by merging things. Answer is a big one, right? Whether they're like a Stack Exchange person or heavy on the developer boards. It's just people who are like totally into Salesforce. Like they're you can tell that they are truly passionate about Salesforce and are community leaders and sort of help Salesforce along in conveying Salesforce's message and how to do things. And, almost in some ways it's weird, are like the frontline support. I consider Steve Moe a better resource when I have a question about a formula I can't get to compile than submitting a case to Salesforce. Steve Moe is an MVP. For that reason, he answers every question that is put on the answers board. So MVP is this tight-knit group of, I don't know how many at this point, I'd say somewhere between 100 and 150 people who've been selected over the last 2.5 years or so that the program has been around. I think it started with like 10 to 15 and has grown since then. And, we get to collaborate and communicate in private chatter groups and talk to product managers about things, get roadmaps. It's a group of people who really, really care, let's put it that way, and are willing to give time and give opinions and feedback about the things that we really, really care about.
And who's it run by?
It is run by Erica Cool. She started it, and since then has had Matt Brown, who was a former MVP and then went to go work at Salesforce to help run the MVP program. So it's Erica and Matt are the two key folks that run the community, or the MVP community. Erica started it.
And can you, if you're an MVP, are you MVP forever?
No, you're not. So you have to be nominated to be an MVP. Nominations are actually open right now. So if you Google, I don't know the exact URL, but if you Google like Salesforce MVP nomination, you'll find the form. You can nominate someone who you feel. Anyone can nominate anyone. I guess you could nominate yourself if you really feel like it. And if you feel like there's someone out there who is, awesome in the community, always helping you out on Twitter or the ideas or wherever, you can nominate them. They go into a flow, and Erica and Matt weed them out. And then we actually, as MVPs, kind of get to have a little say in that too. And if you're already an MVP, you're in there for a year, unless you do something real bad, they kick you out. And then when your year is up, you're kind of like automatically re-nominated and need to be re-accepted into the program. I've been an MVP since spring 11. So spring 11 was my first one, then spring 12 I was brought in, and then spring 13 I was also re-brought in, so I'm going on the third year. And I think you were spring 12.
Right.
So you're going on your second year.
Right. Although I feel like, so I don't, do the MVPs not, for the people who are coming back, do they vote on the people who are coming back? I don't think they do.
I don't know because I can't remember. I feel like no. I feel like that's at Erica and Matt's discretion.
Right. So they look at it and they say, hey, these people.
But I'm not sure on that.
So that's sort of the program. I mean, I was kind of playing a little dumb by asking some of the questions, but just so you could talk about it. Again, really fascinating program. It's sort of, I mean, it's definitely a marketing. If I was Salesforce, whatever, and I'm putting in a bucket, it's a marketing program, right? Because I am marketing to these people who are basically doing marketing for me. Again, there's some bias frontline support, and I'm in some ways recognizing them and giving them giving back to them to say, hey, listen, you're special or whatever. And so this summit, which was something that was talked about 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago.
I feel like it was brought up in jest.
Yes.
On a conference call that we have. We get together as a group and have calls once in a while, once a quarter at least. And I feel like someone said, this would be a great idea. And maybe it was Erica or Matt said, like, yeah.
I'll think about it.
And then it was like, oh, now it's on. Like,
right.
And it was like pestering almost.
So we came out
kids.
here to San Francisco, to Salesforce headquarters. It was held in the Omni. Thank you, Omni. And basically, it was a 2-day thing because I had like sort of dinners and stuff or little mini events on Friday, but then basically it was all
those were
day.
Community meetups.
Okay.
Those were not officially sanctioned.
Okay.
It was a 1-day event.
So it was 1 day from basically 7 a.m.
Yep, 7 a.m. till 10 p.m.
Yeah, so it was
full on.
Yeah, and I will say now that I can't because it was a wide mix of, it kind of was like a little bit of Dreamforce, meaning like they were presenting stuff. It was a little bit of road mapping, like here's stuff that you're not going to talk about, can't talk about, and a little bit of, hey, we want to hear from you, talk to us about what you're doing. So
we're under severe NDA.
Yeah.
As MVPs, the first thing, if you're going to be an MVP, when they send you the packet, the first thing you have to do is sign an NDA because you're under NDA for a lot of the stuff that goes on inside the private chatter groups. You're under NDA for some of the presentations that you get from the product managers. Product managers reach out to you specifically sometimes for feedback on roadmappy type of products. So a lot of the things that were presented to us yesterday, we can't really talk about.
Right.
It's one of those things.
Well, the first rule of the MVP is there is no MVP.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I mean, we can say this. We saw some really cool stuff that is very exciting coming down the line in the future.
And I kind of want to go over what happened. So it was an all-day event of meetings or sort of presentation in a big ballroom here with, I guess, like 70, 80 people, where Salesforce product managers and area expertise and sort of groups sometimes that came in waves came in and were sort of presenting something or talking about a subject matter that we, the MVPs, had talked and said we want them to talk about. So either we want to talk about product roadmap, we want to talk about support, we want to talk about what's going on with this, or we just want to have an open jam session. There were pictures taken. There was all sorts of fun stuff like that. We ended up having a really great dinner last night.
It was kicked off by Parker Harris.
Yep.
Who was there the whole time.
He hung the whole time except for when
they were doing the earnings announcement, I think he popped out and popped back in. But Parker Harris was there the whole time, to his credit. Kind of emceed the event a little bit. Credit to Matt Brown, who also was like a taskmaster getting the time. I mean, he just hit the timing perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, there was a jam-packed day, and he made every effort to make sure that everything that was scheduled got in on time. It was fantastic.
It was like 2 minutes.
Yep. It was like last question. That's it. Because everyone in the room is, as you would think, as an MVP, is very like opinionated, will give their opinion.
Yes.
We'll get on a microphone and talk and ask Parker a tough question, like that kind of stuff.
That's the thing. It's a group of very vocal, outwardly, these are people who are out in the community talking anyway. Again, they're usually doing it through social networks. I don't know of any that. I mean, I guess the user group members and user group runners are there too.
That's right.
So anyway, fascinating. I would just say, so one thing. First of all, great program. Really, I'd be interested to hear if other companies do this, because I've been involved in millions of other companies, and I've never, not millions, but whatever. I've never seen anything quite like this. So it's very unique. It's a very interesting kind of, symbiotic relationship between Salesforce, this company that is a for-profit, company to make money and profits and product and services, and this group of people who are all customers of them. So I pay, right? I pay Salesforce for my licenses, and then I help implement Salesforce. There's a lot of partners. I'd say it's like 40% partners.
Lots of partners.
Well, because we're also, as partners, we're out there a lot.
And we're with a lot of different use cases.
Right.
So we have a lot of things to say about all those different use cases.
So give me your favorite moment of yesterday that you can talk about.
My favorite moment, and I think every time I see this guy, it will be my favorite moment, is Peter Coffey.
Yeah.
Peter Coffey is a fantastic speaker. So smart, so sharp, so funny.
Yeah.
And just hits it out of the park every time. I've now seen him speak a few times. We sat with him at lunch and got to talk to him, at one of the tables at lunch. He's just brilliant. The guy's just, you can tell, wow, this guy's really churning. His wheels are turning pretty quickly.
Yep.
So I will always, whenever he's speaking, he's kind of becoming one of my favorite speakers to see at these events. So I will say just Peter Coffey did the keynote, about 45 minutes, and it was really, really good.
Yeah. It was definitely a combination of sort of stuff we've heard, but then a lot of sort of not like secret stuff, but kind of almost this is the type of stuff we would talk to executives about. Like when we go in front of big company X that wants to buy Salesforce, they bring in this type of presentation to talk about Salesforce.
Yeah. And he even started off, he was like, what do I talk to the people who know too much?
Yeah.
He's like, you're not the people I talk to on a normal basis. So be a little different.
Right.
So now that was a different talk than I've seen him give before.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very nice. So my favorite part, what really was was really just meeting up with the product managers. I absolutely enjoy, and I'm hoping they enjoy too, but I absolutely enjoy talking to product managers.
There's pain on their face. They say they love it.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh my God, Jason, you just killed me.
Yeah. So because it's the stuff that we deal with and kind of both love and hate. I think they're more asking for it. They get a lot of love, so they're more asking for, tell us the stuff that you want to do. And again, they're kind of showing us roadmap stuff, and then they're talking about stuff that they're not going to do. And then, for a couple of them, and I'm not going to get into names or whatever, we got to talk about some of our favorite topics, right, that we talk about on our podcast, and talk to the people who are going to be in charge of changing it, if they are going to change it. So that, to me, is just awesome. And again, there's sort of it's like when we talk to people who are, so I now say my second favorite part was really talking to people who are podcast listeners and who like the podcast. So it's like that reverse role. Like I'm talking to them, telling them what I like about their product, what they should change. Then I'm excited to talk to people who listen to our podcast and tell me what they like and what they want to change, or hey, they like this or like that. I was doing very informal but very deep whatever yesterday, talking to a couple, saying, hey, what about this, what about that? Not that we're going to change anything, but I did have some good feedback. So that was great. A great event. Thank you very much, Matt, Erica, Parker, Benioff. Parker made the point at the end. He's like, Mark foot the bill for this. So great thing. Absolutely great.
He was not there. He wanted to be, but earnings was being announced yesterday, so he had other things to attend to.
That's a pretty big deal. I will say, I feel it was a little bit of a thing to take the biggest people in the community who are the most vocal of all your customers, stick them in a room, and ply them with alcohol while you're doing earnings.
There was no alcohol while they were doing earnings.
No,
first of all,
I know. I'm just kidding.
You're messing around.
So speaking of MVPs and Dreamforce, we are going to, you put in a session.
I did.
A community session.
And it got accepted.
For Dreamforce about Salesforce Podcasters.
I'll keep my streak alive.
Right.
Speaking of Dreamforce, 7 years in a row now?
No, can't be. You didn't speak the first year, did you?
I did. That was the reason I went.
Oh.
Otherwise, I don't know if I was going to be able to go.
Wouldn't let you go otherwise.
Yeah.
So we're going to throw this out to the community to say, what do you want this to be? Like, you have a thing for it, and you wrote up something for it, but, like, I want to hear from everybody.
So why don't we tell them what it is?
Well, but I think we want them to help us define what it is.
Well, why don't we give them the high-level topic of what it's called?
Sure.
So it's called Salesforce Podcasters.
I just said that.
You did not.
I said it's a Salesforce Podcasters session.
No, you didn't. If you did, I wasn't listening,
Well,
and I don't care. I don't
true.
want to listen to you. So the original idea was that we would host, along with some others that do Salesforce-specific podcasts, a session just talking about our podcasts and what they mean to the community as another social channel, right? We always think of social as Twitter or Facebook or blogs or message boards, things that can be measured in Radian 6. But podcasts aren't necessarily measured in Radian 6. They're audio, they're words, they're not, unless you're transcribing every single word that we're saying and then publishing them to a blog somewhere, it's not captured. So the idea was we would talk about that and talk about what we do and maybe, some history. I'm giving away some ideas.
Okay.
And I'm saying, why don't you guys help us? You guys listen to our podcast. You might just want to see us in person and meet us and hear us talk to you live.
Do not know anybody want to meet you.
We did take a picture yesterday with a fan. So I'll throw that out there. Won't mention her name for her sake, but she knows who she is.
Now, again, you've brought it down to about 10 people.
That's not true.
Yes.
So give us some ideas. Like, tweet at us. You could comment. We do publish these podcasts as entries on our blog at blog.arkusinc.com.
Fixed.
Which is now fixed, so I can say blog.arkusinc.com.
Fixed.
So feel free to comment on it in the discuss section below or tweet at either of us. You know our Twitter handles, and Jason will mention them in the closing. If you have any ideas about what you think this session should include, and we'll take those into consideration, certainly, because at the moment it's maybe it'll be this, maybe it'll be that. Right. But since it's community-led, I'm letting you guys, our community, help us understand what you want to hear about.
Do our work for us.
Yeah.
Well, so, and I think, just think about this in terms of, are you more interested in hearing sort of, I guess that's our thing. Is it more that you're already a listener and you kind of want to know more about the inner pieces of it, or are you more? And I guess if you're not a listener, this is gonna be hard to. I guess then
you're not leaving us feedback.
Or think about. I guess if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who just reads this session who's not a listener, are you coming to find about more resources and like, oh, I want to learn about the resources, the more podcasting resources or blog or whatever, or are you sort of interested or think about the person who might be saying, you know what, hey, this is a whole new social channel that I haven't really thought about before. I'd like to learn how to do it. Like, tell me, like, what's your process? How do you come up with content? How do you do your podcast? So I think that would be, so just let us know. That'd be great. If you want to go to Dreamforce, which is on November 18th through 20th, how would I go and can I get a discount?
Well, you got to get in a plane.
Okay.
And you got to fly there
not really.
if you don't live in San Francisco. But here's the deal. Go to dreamforce.com, go to register, and what's the price up to these days? I'm going to actually go. I'm going to look. So if I go to dreamforce.com and I go, wow, this page loads rather quickly. By quickly, I mean slowly. And I go to register as an attendee. I'm new. I'm not new. Let me. It doesn't even give me a price. Oh,
anyway, how can you save $100?
It's expensive. You could save $100 when you check out or go through and give your credit card. It's gonna ask if you have a promo code. Here's one that saves you $100. It's courtesy of the MVPs. D13 MVPREF. So it's D13 for Dreamforce 13 MVPREF.
There you go.
Save you $100. I think you can pile it on to other promo codes that you get from, like if you get one from your AE,
right?
Or you got one somewhere else, you can pile this one on top and get another $100 off.
There you go.
Totally worth it.
Do that. Book your hotels early.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be back with another episode, and we'll be talking about, I think the little preview to next week is the Winter 14 release notes. We know they came out last week. We started reading them. It's 309 pages, although it might be updated already. We'll talk about those next week when we've devoured them. Plus
309 pages.
Plus, when we've forgotten all the stuff that we just saw that really isn't about that's going to be the toughest part of next week. It's like, okay, so I'm going to try to forget yesterday because now I got to just think about the stuff that's coming in Winter 14.
Right, because we saw stuff that's not coming.
That's not coming in 14.
So we have to be careful.
Right, okay. Speaking of being careful, make your CloudFocus app pick of the week.
All right.
By the way, where people rate as a 9 on the 1 to 10.
People love this. I guess I'm glad we do it. So I'm picking we've written blog posts about it, but no one's ever picked it. So I'm going to pick the Jitterbit data loader.
Interesting.
And here's why. So I have a project right now where they need very, I'm air quoting, light integration. Okay? Not Actian integration, not pervasive pervasive is Actian, not Informatica, not Boomi, not Cast Iron, not Talend, none of those.
Ooh, how many can you name?
Probably a couple more if I tried. They not Jitterbit integration. They need very light integration. What they need is to run a query every 15 minutes, pull data out, put it on an SFTP site.
Nice.
That's what they need. So the Jitterbit data loader, which is free, is an alternative to the Apex data loader, which is Salesforce's data loader. And it does a little bit more. Well, let me say a lot more.
Right.
Than the Apex data loader can do. It can do some simple transformations of data on the fly.
Right.
It can, save your connections. So, like, I'm using this connection. So, if you're logging into multiple orgs doing data loads, it's nice because it saves everything for you. It can save queries for you. It can do a lot of things that the data loader is very, like, one and done type of things. I guess you could save mappings, but that's about it.
Right.
In Jitterbit, you can save a lot of things. And there's a lot of places where you can send data or pick up data from, and it has a scheduler. So you can schedule, in my use case, every 15 minutes, I want to run this query, and I want to take the data, output it as a CSV file.
Easy for you to say.
And FTP it to a particular location. And it should run every 15 minutes. And Jitterbit can handle that, which is a much higher end version of what the Salesforce data loader can do. It can do a whole lot of other things. I'm just giving you my use case. You can get it on the Mac. You can get it on the PC. They just announced a cloud version. So they're really all in on this free data loader solution. It's kind of like the crack dealer. They give you a little free data loader, and then they're like, by the way, we sell a full scale ETL tool, crack. And if you like this, wait till you get a load of this, right? If you need to really start transforming, because you can do just very simple transformations.
Right.
But if you really need to start transforming, if you really need to do a lot of data, you can go buy their product. But I'm picking the free one, Jitterbit Data Loader.
Awesome.
Mac, PC.
Sorry, Jitterbit, about calling your product crack.
Well, it is. The free data loader is kind of like crack.
Okay. I am going to pick something that is like it's multi-tenant thing because I'm picking like sort of 2 parts to it. So as we probably discussed a little bit on this podcast, we are both big NFL fans, and so we watch a lot of NFL. And there is the ways to watch NFL games and stuff is a little bit tough sometimes. There's the NFL has started to put out these packages where you can watch games. Like we were out here and we couldn't watch our team because it was on the wrong time, whatever. So there's an app called Preseason Live. Now you probably don't want Preseason Live now because preseason is literally over, or maybe it's over tonight. So you don't want this app, but it was $20. And so think about this for next year, $20, and you get to watch any preseason game live. Now I was away last week in a foreign country watching live preseason games. It was awesome. You get to watch the recaps. It's a great little app. $20. It's a subscription for the preseason. You subscribe every year if you want it. Okay. What I am going to talk about is something coming up called NFL Game Rewind, which I'm sure you've heard or seen the ads for if you're an NFL fan. It's really neat. It's my second year buying it. It's like either $30 to $70 for the season, what's nice is you get to watch every game. So this is only rewinds. You can't watch them live because that's another whole thing. But you get all these different things. You get the archives, so back to 2009, so you can watch any game back to 2009. You get the coaches film, which is a new angle. You can do all this sort of stuff, and you can do it on your computer or your iPad, which are neat, your tablets. Anyway, that's my pick. They're both apps, so you can download them to your devices, I think Android and iOS, but they're also then subscriptions that you need to do them. So free apps with a subscription behind. Preseason Live's $20 for a year. You don't want that yet. Use that for next year. NFL Game Rewind, I think it's like $30 if you just want to use your team, and then you can go up to like $70 if you want every team. Neat. If you're, if you're a football fan and you don't have access to everything, it's absolutely great. Half the cost of a ticket to any one of these games. So that is my pick of the week, available on NFL.com. I think you click on the Watch NFL Games link. The rumor is that the Google, this actually came out last week, Google is looking to maybe buy the NFL Sunday Ticket and take over that. So,
really?
Yes, that came out last week, that they're in talks to take it over, because it's over with. DirecTV has it until the end of 2014, and then it's up. And DirecTV pays about $1 billion a year for that privilege of having the only way to sort of show live, stream or live, have the broadcaster live. If Google bought it, I'd be so happy, because they would turn it into a streaming product that you could just buy anywhere. You could get it on 1 million devices, so it'd be great. As opposed to DirecTV is a little bit like they're trying to sell their DirecTV service. Google isn't trying to sell their service; they're just trying to sell, product that can work on any device. So, anyway, a little throw in there. All right, so remember, follow Justin at Just Edelstein. Follow me at Jason M. Atwood, Arkus Inc. on Twitter. We're on Facebook at Arkus Inc., Dreamforce Portal Group. We're in the Success Community Group. We're in LinkedIn and Google+. Please subscribe. So all of you listeners, if you're a listener and you're like, I really like the podcast and I'd like to meet these guys, please tell us by going into iTunes and leaving a great review, because then we get the review forever, and we'll even mention you when you leave the review.
We just got mentioned, by the way, 15 minutes ago by Denise, our fan, who we took a picture with.
She tweeted the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, alrighty then.
So, Denise, you got called out twice.
So that just happened. But yes, please review us in iTunes. Again, it's a great way when people are looking for podcasts. I see all the reviews, so that would be great. Maybe that's the only way you'll be able to meet us at Dreamforce, if you leave reviews. Until next week, we'll be back. As always, Jake and Justin saying, enjoy those cloudy days.